There is a certain kind of exhaustion that nobody talks about. Not the tiredness that comes from working too hard, not the kind that a good night's sleep fixes. It's the exhaustion that comes from spending years pouring yourself into other people, while quietly running on empty yourself. And the strange thing, the people who feel this most deeply are rarely the ones anyone worries about, because from the outside they seem completely fine. They're the ones who always pick up the phone, who show up when something falls apart, who remember the small things, your appointment, your difficult week, the name of your dog. They're the first person other people call, and the last person anyone thinks to ask, "How are you doing?" Maybe you know someone exactly like this, or maybe that person is you. And if it is, you've probably heard the same things your whole life. You're so strong. I don't know what I'd do without you. You always know what to say. People mean it as a compliment, but sometimes it lands differently, like a quiet reminder that your role is to give, not to need. Here's what most people don't realize about this. Caring for others isn't always just kindness. Sometimes, and this is the part that's hard to hear, it's also a way of avoiding yourself. Because when you're focused on someone else's pain, you don't have to sit with your own. When you're solving someone else's problem, you don't have to face the ones you've been putting off. Helping becomes a kind of relief, not just for the person you're helping, but for you. And the uncomfortable truth is this. Some people who are incredibly good at caring for others have never really learned how to care for themselves, not because they're weak, but because at some point they stop believing their own needs deserve the same attention. For a lot of people, this begins somewhere very specific, a moment, or more often a long stretch of moments where the message they received was clear. Your feelings are complicated for other people. Maybe nobody said it out loud. Maybe it was subtler than that. A parent who was dealing with their own struggles and couldn't hold yours too. A home where keeping the peace mattered more than being honest about what you felt. A childhood where being helpful meant being loved, and needing something meant being a burden. So you adapted. You got good at reading what other people needed before they even had to ask. You got good at staying calm when things got tense. You got good at making yourself smaller, quieter, easier, so that everyone around you felt more comfortable. And it worked. People relied on you. They trusted you. They called you the strong one. So you kept going. Long after the original reason for all that caretaking had passed. The cost of this doesn't arrive all at once. It's gradual. For a long time, you don't even notice it. But then, small things start to appear. You help a friend through something difficult, and instead of feeling good afterward, you feel strangely hollow. You realize you can't remember the last time you talked about yourself in a conversation. Someone asks what you want for your birthday, and you genuinely don't know. Not because nothing matters to you, but because you have spent so long paying attention to what everyone else wants that your own preferences have grown faint. And then there's the resentment, quiet at first, a flicker of irritation towards someone you love when they need something from you and you have nothing left. You feel guilty about it immediately because you know it's not their fault. They didn't take anything from you. You gave it. You always give it. That's the part that's hardest to admit. There's a question that people like this carry around, one they've almost never said out loud, because saying it out loud would feel selfish or needy or ungrateful. The question is, does anyone actually see me the way I see them? Not the version of me that holds everything together. Not the person who always knows what to say. Me. The one who is tired. The one who is uncertain. The one who sometimes needs someone to just sit with them and ask nothing. That longing is real, and it never fully goes away no matter how many people you help, because the love you give out so freely isn't filling the space where you need to receive it. Here's what makes this particularly interesting. The people who do this are usually not emotionally unaware. It's actually the opposite. They tend to have a very high sensitivity to other people's emotional states. They notice when someone in the room has gone quiet. They sense tension before anyone says a word. They can tell the difference between someone who's fine and someone who's fine but needs you to ask again. That emotional radar is genuinely sophisticated, but there's a blind spot. That same radar, so precise when pointed outward, somehow loses its signal when it turns inward. Ask them how they're really feeling and they'll pause, not because they're hiding something, but because they genuinely haven't checked in with themselves in a while. Psychologists call this self-silencing. It's what happens when someone learns, over time, to push down their own emotional experience in order to maintain harmony with the people around them. It doesn't feel like suppression from the inside. It just feels like being a good friend, a good partner, a good family member. But underneath, a slow drift is happening, away from themselves. The shift for people like this rarely happens loudly. It usually starts with something small, a moment where they're about to do something for someone else, and they notice for the first time that they don't actually want to. Not because they've stopped caring, but because they're finally paying attention to the fact that they're depleted, and something about that noticing changes things. Because once you can see the pattern, you can start to question the belief underneath it, the belief that your needs are less important, that asking for help is a burden, that being needed is the same thing as being loved. Those beliefs made sense once, they were survival strategies, but you're not in that situation anymore. And the strategies you used to cope then might be the very thing keeping you from being fully seen now. There's a version of giving that comes from a full place, where you show up for someone not because you need to be needed, but because you genuinely have something to offer and you want to offer it. That kind of giving feels different. It doesn't hollow you out. It doesn't quietly build resentment. It doesn't leave you wondering why nobody does the same for you, because you've started doing it for yourself. Not all at once, not perfectly, but in small, honest ways. Saying no when you mean no. Letting someone help you without immediately redirecting the conversation back to them. Sitting with a difficult feeling instead of immediately going looking for someone to fix. These things sound small, but for someone who has spent years making themselves invisible, they're not small at all. The most caring people in the world deserve to be cared for too. Not because they've earned it by giving enough, not because they've finally run out, but simply because they matter. Not for what they do, for who they are. You already know how to love other people deeply. The question is whether you're willing to include yourself in that. I want to ask you something. When was the last time someone asked how you were doing and you actually told them the truth? Not the version that reassures them, the real one. Sit with that for a moment, because in the next video we're going to talk about something deeply connected to this. The psychology of people who hide their pain behind humor, the ones who make everyone in the room laugh while quietly carrying something heavy that nobody ever thinks to ask about. Once you understand it, you'll never hear a joke quite the same way again. If this made sense, you're different, so like, share and subscribe.